Hey, what's up? This is your girl Diamond. I am the executive director of Trans Women's Inc. and the host and producer of Marsha's Plate podcast. And we are going to talk about Borders today, the Swedish film. So I do a live show every Friday at 7 o'clock. All right, let's see. So I hope everybody watched the film. Get my water. Y'all like my shirt? My shirt says, I'm straight, gay, bisexual, lesbian, trans, queer. I have all of these slashed out. I'm a person. So let's talk about Borders. All right. So Borders is a film on Hulu that came out in 2018. It is a Swedish film. It's a fantasy film directed by Ali Abazi. It stars Ava Melander as Tina. It's based on a short story from an anthology called Let the Old Dreams Die. Now, so let's explain these. This is a spoiler, so I wanted you to watch it. So let's explain to the people who may not have watched it yet. So if you want to see it, then you should have saw it before this video. So don't continue to watch if you don't want spoilers. So it starts off with the main character. Her name is Tina. She works for a custom service that uses her heightened sense of olfactory senses to detect human emotions. You know, emotions like guilt, shame, you know, that type of stuff helps them catch people who have contraband, who are trying to smuggle contraband into the country. You feel what I'm saying? So she has a very strongly her look it's like Neanderthal. Her looks like a cave person, like a caveman, but it's a girl. Um, she indicates that she's a girl, but she looks like a caveman in the sense of that her appearance looks like, you remember the Geico commercials, like a girl version of that. So, hey Brandon, how are you? Hey, lovable, how are y'all? so So she looks like a cave person or whatever. But she has this special ability, something in her senses, because of what she is. She can sense like fear and emotion. So think about if a person like that worked for TSA, they would be able to like sense anybody coming and trying to do some weird ass shit, or if they got something they ain't supposed to be smuggling in, she will be able to sense it. And so that's actually what they use her for. So one day while she's at the border, she sniffs somebody in it. She sniffs out like some contraband, and it's like this memory card containing child pornography. Her boss, because her boss is a human, she and assumes that she's a human. She's not understanding how she figured out what was on the memory card or whatever. And Tina told her that I use my sense of smell. It's something about my smell that I'm able to figure something out. Her boss ended up asking her to help with the investigation since she has this keen sense of whatever she has. She wants her to be on the investigation, so she says yes. The next day, this man comes to her job that looks like her, like a male version of her. Same facial features, same Neanderthalic face in regards to that. And she asked him to inspect his bag. The bag is full of like maggots and a device that the man claims incubates maggots. Tina lets him pass. He soon returns and volunteers to be searched. Now, he is taken in the back room, and he is strip searched. Tina is gagged, bitch. Tina is gagged because she learns that this man that looked like her actually has female genitalia and a large scar on his tailbone, like in the back by his ass. And so Tina asked him, who was he? Because she's sensing something, but she just don't know what it is. He triggers some type of, when she's around him, it triggers something, like she's sniffing and like, like some kind of animalistic thing that now remember, he looks like her. So you can tell there's something not at this point in the movie, but at this point you can tell something is up or whatever. So Tina asks him who he is. He tells her his name is Vor. Then, and that he will be staying at a hotel close by. Tina goes to a nursing home to see her father, who does not look like her. So her father looks like a normal human being. She asked her dad about her scar because she has the same scar that Vor has. He tells her that she fell on something when she was a small child, and then she visited the hostel where Vor was staying. And Vor was being stupid and eating maggots off a tree. He convinced her to eat one, and it actually is good to her. She gets her life. So Tina, kind of smitten by him a little bit, she offers him a room in her guest house, and he accepts. Tina brings him home. He tries to kiss her. And Roland, which is her trade, she lives with in some like secluded ass. She lives with this dude that has a dog that barks at her. Just this dude that has a dog. I guess it's her trade or whatever. And the dog barks. The dog is fucking loud, but she's like a lonely, desperate old lady just dealing with the lay trade or whatever, moving them in, taking care of them, But now she has this dude that looks like her that she kind of smitten with, that she done let move into her guest house. Her trade that already lives with her is like, what's going on? And kind of getting kind of suspicious around that. So Tina accompanies the police when they go search this apartment to find the pedophiles that they were looking for that case, right? And so they detected like a camera and some footage where it was an infant being sexually abused. The police arrested the occupants of the house, but they couldn't identify who was tracking the infants. They could identify who apartment it was, but they couldn't identify who was tracking it. So there was this big ass storm, and during this thunderstorm, Vor enters Tina's house, and the two of them huddle under the table, and because they're like afraid of lightning or whatever. So in this moment, they finally kiss each other, right? And during this romantic kind of situation, she's feeling a connection with Vor, and they look exactly like. So it seems like it'll be perfect. Like he's the male version of her. Well, male or whatever. He got a cooch. Um, and so during this walk in the storm, after the storm or whatever, Tina confesses when they're having this moment of attraction and kissing and all this kind of stuff. She confesses that she has a chromosome deformity, which makes it difficult for her to have sex and impossible to bear children. Vlor tells her that that is not a deformity and she should ignore what humans say about her. They kiss and she gets aroused, and to Tina's astonishment, this erect thing comes out of her cooch. Comes out of her pussy and it's looking like a penis, and it enlarges from her groin, and it gags everybody. This is the shock of the film. She actually mounts Vlor and fucks the shit out of him, and they make love. They get their life. After that, Vlor tells Tina that she is a troll. She is not a human. She is a troll. She didn't know this her whole life, and he is just like her, and that he is in contact with a group of trolls who maintain a life in Finland. So, think about, she's been raised as a human, thinking that something is wrong with her. And this dude that is just like her, well, except the opposite sex of her, tells her, baby, you a troll girl. You is not a human, honey. You is a troll girl. Don't let these motherfuckers fool you. They trying to trick you. Tina is excited about her newfound identity and begins to live more like a troll. She finally has the confidence to tell Roland, get the fuck out. Now that she has a new man, a new tray, baby, get out of my house. I'm tired of you mooching off of me. Get the fuck up out. She noticed that Vlor, so she goes to her guest house, and she noticed that Vlor, her new man, has tape on the refrigerator, and he has taped it shut. When she opens it up, there's a cardboard box in there where there's this strange infant who has been placed in the box. So when she confronts Vlor about this baby, Vlor says the baby is a hissy, which is an unfertilized troll embryo that will soon die. Vlor plans to use the hissy as a changeling, and what happens is he will take a human baby and replace this little troll baby with the human baby, because if the troll baby is not fertilized, it will just die. It looks like a little baby, but what he does, he takes the human babies and replaces it with this little troll baby. And so the people who has this human baby thinking that, oh, my baby is dying, something's wrong with it, because it looks like a human baby or whatever. So while one of the arrested pedophiles were being transferred, remember they arrested those pedophiles, Vlor goes and stops the van and kills him so he can't fuck up his plan. So this is how you know that Vlor is a part of this pedophile ring or whatever. And he tells Tina it was to prevent him from telling the police that he, Vlor, was trafficking human babies. He confessed this to her and told her this was the plot of the trolls to get revenge on the humans for all the troll torture that they had done in the 1970s. Woo, deep. This fucked Tina up. She finally found her a piece of trade, finally found somebody like her explaining all the weird shit that's going on in her life, why I can smell and use this weird ass sense in my head, why I ain't been able to let Roland fuck me, because Roland tried to fuck her in the beginning of the movie, but it was painful. She didn't know what was up. Like, it didn't do right, and she didn't like it. So it was painful. They couldn't fuck. Now he finally explains, then gave her some coochie, she's sprung and not understanding now he a part of this fucking pedophile ring. Ain't that what it is? Betrayed that you fall in love with always got some bullshit going on. So this disturbs Tina, who believes that who doesn't believe that the humans' past treatments of Charles justify what he is doing now. She thinks trafficking human babies is tired. So the next day, Tina's neighbors call an ambulance because their baby is ailing. Unbeknownst to them, it is not their child. It is the changeling. So Vlor funky ass done went into these people's house and did what he said he was going to do. He snatched their baby and put the changeling baby in place of that baby. So Tina goes to the guest house. Vlor is gone. His belongings gone. He has left a note instructing Tina to meet him at the ferry. Like, look, I did what I was supposed to do. You want to come roll with me to the troll fantasy land? Not fantasy, it's real, but to the troll paradise where you can be amongst your people and be a part of the clan, girl, or what you want to do. And so meet me at the ferry if you're trying to roll out. So she finds him on the deck. She explains that her compassion towards a human does not mean that she is a human herself. She says the trolls are capable of compassion too. She signals for the police, who closes in on Laura. So she basically sets him up and snitches on him. And he actually gets away. He jumps overboard over the ship. So Tina is over it. Tina's over the whole situation. She goes and confronts her father. She finally tells him, "Tell me the truth, so I know what the fuck she is, what the fuck is going on." And he told her that he used to work as a caretaker at a psychiatric hospital where trolls were tortured and experimented on. That's where he found her and adopted Tina, because I guess he felt sorry or whatever. Whose original troll name was Riva. And he raised her as a human. And her real troll parents were dead because, they had wore them out. But he knew where they were buried, so he told her about it. A few months later, Tina finds, when she kind of get over the anger, goes off on her daddy, blah, 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 blah. Tina finds a package on her porch, and inside it is a troll infant that has been fertilized, and a postcard from Vor from Finland. And that's how the movie ends. Alrighty. And that's how the movie is. So let's discuss. Didn't it gag? Yes, Montanique, didn't it gag you? Oh, yes, this is my shirt. I'm not straight. I'm not gay. I'm not bisexual. I'm not lesbian. I'm not trans. I'm not queer. I'm a person. I love the shirt. Alrighty. So come on, let's discuss. Get to talking. What's going on, honeys? Oh, thank you, Libra. So let's see. When she grew her little piece, baby, that had gagged me. I was not expecting none of. I don't know what I was expecting. First of all, I don't like films with subtitles, but somebody said, "Girl, it is good. Just watch it. I'm not gonna tell you what happened. Just watch it." And so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch it, and we're gonna see what happens." So first, I was annoyed that she looks ugly like that. Well, in my definition of ugly, and I'm like, are they? But she got this little skill, so I was kind of like, they're exploiting her little skill, and it was making me feel some kind of way. Like, why are they using this lady? I'm probably sure she's underpaid, and she got this sickening skill that's helping them catch motherfuckers, and she working as a TSA girl. You need to be getting paid. That's what I was thinking at first. Then when she met the dude, Yes, the actual actress. So the actress is her name is Eva Melander, who is quite cute. Yeah, she's quite cute. But of course, they made her up and did all that kind of stuff to her or whatever. What was gagging me also was her before her piece was shown, how she was engaging with Vlor, how she was engaging with him, how it was making her like an animal, like it was making her like sniff and like get almost like insecure or aggressive or something. I was like, are they gonna keep this makeup the whole movie? Uh-huh. Vlor was a fuckboy having babies and locking them in the freezer. Yeah, that primal sense of how she was acting when she was around him, I thought that was good acting. Like just how she was conveying that kind of primal animalistic reaction, like uncontrollable reaction when she was around him. I thought that was good acting. I thought they did that. They performed that good. But then when oh boy, when it showed that Vlor had a vag, I was like, oh, and so with these as a trans person, you already like, with body parts and da 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 da. I'm like, what is going on? What is happening? Because that's the first. Because actually, when I first seen that scene, I clocked it, but I didn't clock it. Do you feel what I'm saying? Like that, the troll part really was the gag because I didn't really clock. I just, when I see people of a certain race, I never really think about I never really think about a sizable genitalia. So when they went through the part where it was revealed that he didn't have a piece, I didn't clock that he didn't have a piece. I just thought that maybe just because it's the film and he of this other race, I thought that he just had a little piece and I couldn't see it. I was like, I didn't even clock that it was on some. He was supposed to have a vagina. I just clocked. I don't know why I didn't put that two and two together. No, we just started money. It just now started. I just wanted to read the plot so people can understand the plot. We just now started. Um ah, like even when Vlora first came to her house and he growled at the dog and then she did the same thing later. Yes. I was like, oh, he showed her how to get them dogs to be quiet. That even that says something to like her training as a human girl. Think about it. Like as a human girl, she's not trained to be, she was raised as a girl. So she's not trained to be aggressive. You get what I'm saying? Even to the dogs. That dog represent that kind of animalistic way that niggas act, and he just loud, rah, 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 and she didn't even think to be aggressive back to it. And I just attribute that to her being raised as a girl. Like she just kind of letting it ride. Then it's her nigga's dog, and I'm sure she feels like the ugly duckling. And this Trey, who's living in our house, living on her couch, showing her some kind of attention. I'm sure her whole little self esteem was like, Roland was clearly cheating on her, probably more than likely. And so for Vora to come in and be like, girl, shut your ass up to that stupid ass dog and growling back at him, nigga, shut up. I hate when people hold their mouth open, so that was wearing me out the whole movie. Yes. And it triggers like if you know anything about what is it? What's the word? There's a fancy word for it. Um Anthrometrics. I think it's anthrometrics. So anthrometrics are like the average measurements of the human body. So when you transition, you start doing research about anthrometrics. Okay. You start doing research about what you can do to get yourself into the average anthrometrics of if you're a trans man, you're getting to the anthrometrics of man. If you're a trans woman, you get into the anthrometrics of cis woman. You're trying to get in that range of I want like so what let me give you a perfect example. So from your waist, the average measurement from your a woman's waist to the fullest part of her hips, the average is between 10, yes, thank you, is between 10 to 12 inches. So whatever your waist is, add 10 to 12 inches, and that's usually the average. Now we talk about average. There's some people who go above and beyond this, but or below it. But the average woman, from whatever her waist is, her hips are 10 to 12 inches added on top of that. That makes sense? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. I think so. Yeah. So yes, whatever her waist is, add that. So when you are in transition and you're trying to get your body to those metrics, for me, I was when I was trying to get body work done and da 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 da, I wanted to get into that range of, you know, um, so when I look at her, I bring this up because when I look at her, one of the things, the differences between men and women is their brow ridge in their cranium. So the ridge of bone in their brow here. So if you look at the profile and sometimes the front view of a man, he has a heavy brow ridge, like some men more than others, but men have a very, very heavy brow ridge right here, like right here. And it makes their eyes look more sunken in than women's, especially from the side. Like if you look at men's profile, this right here is like, it's like a bump right here. Now, me, I have gotten facial feminization surgery. So mine is smooth, like it's flat because I've gotten it taken care of. But if you pay attention to men's faces, this is really, really heavy. And it's really something that clocks you if you are a trans girl who, if you have that. It's kind of like most people focus on like Adam's apple or maybe even jawline, but it's not just that. It's a combination of things about a man's face that makes a man look like a man. Now, we all know that like we talk about average of bodies, everybody doesn't have the same type of, and I want to call them flaws, but every man doesn't fit that. So for example, like if you look at, I'm trying to think of, perfect example. What's his name? He makes wigs. Alonzo. Is it Alonzo? I am Alonzo Arnold. So yeah, so Alonzo Arnold is a perfect example. Alonzo Arnold that I know of is not trade. I mean, it's not trans. Definitely not trade. Alonzo Arnold, the wig maker. Y'all know Alonzo. They be beat, but they're a boy and they identify as a boy. I don't think they identify as trans. I don't think they do. They do get dressed up because they like to get, they like pretty things. But Alonzo Arnold, there they go without their little get up and putting their wig on. So Alonzo Arnold, if you look at Alonzo, although Alonzo was born a boy, Alonzo actually has a lot of the features just naturally without any surgery that are not this strong man ass features. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's easy for him to look like a quote unquote girl. Do you see what I'm saying? Because he doesn't have a lot of those strong ass, stereotypical manly features like a brow bone, like heavy brow bone, strong ass jawline, blah 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 blah. Make sense? And there's a lot of guys, I've seen men who are not trans, who are not gay, that if you look at them, they actually could be women with ease. And same thing with women. There's some women who, because of their facial structure, they could easily pass for guys with ease. And so, why I brought that up is because when looking at this film, seeing her with this heavy ass brow bone, it was triggering me. I was like, oh my God, she got this heavy ass brow bone. I know, because initially you don't know she's a troll. I just think that she's a woman. And so in my mind, I'm like, is this a prosthetic? Is this a makeup? Or is this a real person that they not hired with this deformity, with this heavy ass brow ridge? And I'm like, ooh, I didn't look up to see if it was a real person. I wasn't for sure. So I was like, ooh, if a person had this brow bone, shit, I know that they are wore out. I know, since I was bothered by it. I was like, child, I know that they wore out. So in my line of work, we talk about it in terms of being the 5th and 9th percentile. Basically, you design a product to fit people who fall into the 5 to 95% of average humans. Yes. Because my natural round features, I can get through a lot of spaces. Yeah. So everybody doesn't have the same flaws. Some people, like I know some cis het men that don't have a really, really heavy brow ridge. So that would, if they transitioned, that particular thing wouldn't be a flaw of theirs. Also, like hairlines. Usually cisgender women, not all of them, remember these are just average, their hairline starts, closer down, and the edges of their hairline goes like around here into here. Do you see what I'm saying? But men, it cuts up. It's like square and cuts up here and then comes down or recedes altogether. It's like instead of it being like rounded here, it goes back and then comes up. Hope that makes sense. And as a trans person, you pay attention to shit like that. Because you are trying to blend and you're trying to, not, look like the old way. But you're trying to beat them biology triggers. So anyway, every time I saw her on screen, I would be like, oh girl, what's up? So then when it was revealed that she was a troll, I was like, oh, that's why she couldn't have sex with old boy. Why she couldn't have sex with Roland. She said it hurts. Like, remember when he tried to get into bed with her and was like, oh shit, this hurts. And she was like, So let me go to my Twitter because actually somebody asked me a question. Let's see. All right, so this is a trans guy that usually watches us, but he said that he wouldn't be able to make the live, but he wanted to watch it later. So he wanted me to answer the question. Um, so he said, so number one, let me see. He said, number one, don't trolls kind of look like Fat Bastard from Austin Power movies? Something about the facial structure, which I thought was funny. They remind me of the Geico caveman thingy. But he said they look like Fat Bastard. But his serious question is, should I allow myself to just enjoy the fact that this was a really cool film with an interesting plot twist? Or should I allow myself room to critique this as another film that dehumanizes me a little bit? And so I was like, dehumanizes you? What are you talking about? And he says, I'm a man with a vajayjay, so a trans man. Why they got me on here as a troll though? And he put the little face with the dude like, what? So I had to think about that and examine that a little bit. So part of the story, I was like, oh, she's realizing that she's something else that she wasn't. And so, of course, as a trans person, you kind of relate to that narrative. But when I watch movies, I think anybody, I bring my own experiences, but I'm rarely offended by fantasy films. When I know that this is a fantasy, then now if you're giving me a film about a trans story, then I'm going to be extra critical about a trans story. But once I realize that this is supposed to be another entity, a troll that does not exist, not a real thing, I'm going to relate to the some of the themes, but I'm not going to take it personally. But I can see how you like that kind of. I can see how you can see yourself in that, but I wouldn't see myself in that. It's kind of like recently. Remember recently the movie Witches with the new version of Witches with Octavia Spencer and Anne Hathaway. So I guess that I love the movie. I didn't like the first one, but I actually like the remake better than the first one. But well, I love Angelica Houston, but apparently they got some backlash because the witches in the movie they only have these fingers, so it's like this, and so in the film it's just these three fingers, and apparently people who have other limbs, like they have limbs that look outside of the norm, they were apparently offended by it, and she had to apologize for the film. Now, I thought that was kind of like y'all reaching with y'all. Y'all reaching. I just felt like that was a reach because these characters this is a fake character. This is a witch. This is not portraying a human. So, but I can't tell somebody how to be offended. Do you feel what I'm saying? Like I can't tell somebody, and that's not my experience. I can't tell them not to be offended by this movie. Do you feel what I'm saying? Now, it's weird to me as somebody outside of the experience. It's weird to me because I'm like, they're portraying witches. I wouldn't associate myself with a witch. Like I wouldn't think that they were depicting me, or I don't know. But I'm not somebody with different limbs. So somebody could have seen that movie who have differently presenting limbs and saw it and been offended by it. So I didn't understand that, but it's not my place to say you can't be offended by them. Witches isn't real and da 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 da. I just feel like that's taking it too far. I can be like, I'm gonna mind my business because this ain't got nothing to do with me. That's what I'm gonna say. But you know, it was kind of, I thought it was kind of strange that they associated themselves with the witch when witches aren't real. Um, and so that's how I feel about your statement. Like, I can understand how you're making the connection, just like I can understand making the connections about the witches, but a troll isn't a real thing. So I wouldn't associate it with me as a trans person. I can associate the theme and the underlying feeling of, oh my God, I'm finding out what I thought wasn't true, and now I'm something else. Now somebody, all this weird stuff about me that I thought, and then boom, I'm realizing I'm getting new information and new possibilities. I understand that. Does it make sense? But because it is a movie about a fictional entity, I'm not going to be so harsh on them. Like if it was about a trans experience, then I'm going to be really, really harsh. And I'm going to be like, yo, y'all could have did the research on this. Oh, yo, y'all could have, you get what I'm saying? I'm going to want y'all to be realistic. And I want y'all to be honest, authentic depiction of a trans person. Hope that makes sense. Tina's powers reminded me of how marginalized people often are able to read further into things. In my opinion, LGBT people easily read between the lines and sense things that are not readily on the surface. That's why we, particularly Black people and Black queer people all together, especially Black queer people. I think that's why we are the cultivators of cool. Like because we have those abilities and those senses, we also can create in a more robust way that's interesting and includes everybody. That's why our things are stolen a lot to me. I feel like with fantasy, there should be some freedom or license in regarding to their vision. Yes, lovable, absolutely. I agree. Like different movie, TV shows portray vampires differently, and it's up to the creator to determine what. I also agree with that. Absolutely, I agree with that too. I think when we're talking about fantasy, and almost not even fantasy, sometimes not even fantasy. I feel like, but definitely fantasy. Not sometimes even, but definitely fantasy. I feel like the artist should have the creative license to portray whatever they want to portray. I think that is their place. This is where I don't align with the trans community, because I was thinking about this recently when we were talking about you know how we talk about trans people should play trans people in movies. And there's no reason why a trans person shouldn't play trans people in movies, right? Yes, the woman edge. That's why they do that. so so do I agree with that? Yes, I agree that there are trans people that should be playing trans people. But if you watch conversations that have that thing, there's always going to be some that have that subject matter. There's always going to be somebody that says the rebuttal. Well, if only trans people can play trans people, shouldn't it be that only cis people can play cis people? And the trans person, to me, hypocritically turns around and says, no, that's different. Trans people can play cis people. So a lot of trans people agree with that trans person. That thing is different when you turn it around. I am one of those people that don't think it's different. I actually don't think a creator should have to be forced to hire a trans person to play a role. Okay. I think because of the artistry, I think whoever the best actor is should do it. Now, there are going to be consequences if you don't. If you don't hire a trans person, there are going to be consequences if you don't. I do think that if you want to be politically correct, you should hire a trans person. I think if you don't want the backlash and you want to be politically correct and you want to do the good thing, yes, hire a trans person. That's altruistic. Hire a trans person for that role. Duh. Why not? That's equitable. But I have seen movies with cis people playing trans people and it was good as fuck. I think that Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry played the fuck out of that role. I was not disappointed. I was not disappointed by her playing that role. Could a trans person play? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But in that movie, that cis person played the fuck out of the role. If you're an actor, you should be able to play every role, any role you want to, any role that you are good at playing. Is it politically correct? No. So, I don't have I get it. Like, I'm never going to be under somebody's comment when a trans person says it. I'm never going to be rebuttaling them and be like, no, I'm never going to argue that point because I know why trans people feel that way. So I'm never going to be arguing that point. I'm just telling you my opinion. I think as an actor, I think you should be able to play whatever role, whoever. If I get you in this audition, and I'm playing, and I'm hot, and I'm looking for this trans actress. I'm looking for a actor to play this trans character, and I have 3 people in front of me, and the person who is acting the best, who is giving me the best skill, just so happen to be a cis person. I really should be able to hire that cis person. But in the climate nowadays, I don't think that they would do that because they're going to get backlash. Hope that makes sense. I'm fine. Just don't use cis men to play trans women. That be that bullshit. Some trans women may be clocky, but at least most are moaned out so you can see the difference between them and cis men. So for me, I know many trans women that are not on moans. I'm not on moans. I know trans women who haven't had surgeries, who don't want to take moans. I know a bunch of them, not just a few. I know a bunch of them that haven't had surgeries and don't take hormones. I know a lot, not just for many reasons, for access to healthcare reasons, for cost reasons. Yeah, I know trans women that don't take moans. But yes, that's my story. That's not everybody's story, Ari. Everybody's story is not moans. I know a lot of trans women that don't take moans and never took them. Some of them scared to take them. I know a lot of trans women, especially Black ones who don't have access to healthcare. There's a lot of I know a lot of trans women who don't take. But regardless of that, it kind of goes back to this controversy that happened with that trans Barbie doll. There was this trans Barbie doll that people were reading about the Barbie doll and how people were complaining that they didn't try to feminize the doll. And so to assume that every trans person is passable and feminine, I think that's disingenuous and a lie. I think, yes, are there some Barbie doll trans women? Absolutely. Absolutely. There are some Barbie doll trans women that looks like that aligns with cis heteronormativity, that looks like a Barbie doll. Absolutely. But there is a lot of trans women that don't pass, that have those same masculine features, the jawline, the brow bone, blah, 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 blah. There are trans women who fit that category. And if people are not saying that that doesn't exist, they're lying. Now, you can be like, oh my God, I wanted them to represent the trans girl that's beautiful or that really is passable. You can want that, but if we're going to be realistic, it's going to be multiple people represented. It's going to be the ones that are, passable, and it's going to be ones that are not. It's going to be, honey, there are going to be some, like when we talk about Queen Esther, like the movie Queen Esther, Miss Thing on there wasn't passable. Miss Rowan. But that's realistic. Like Rowan wouldn't be able to afford all the surgeries. Everybody can't afford all the surgeries or get access to hormones, and they still live in their life. They're still living their life and living as a woman full time. But some people can't afford FFS. Some people can't afford even hormones. Fantasy thing. This reminds me of when the casting of Clarice Jones in Presses. The director said most of the actresses that had the traumatic background to draw from would get triggered, but not Sidibe, Gabourey. Like when she cried talking to her dad, realizing that she wasn't an ugly woman, but a beautiful troll. Ooh, I felt that thing, like seeing yourself anew. Yes, I thought that was a beautiful thing. I thought that was perfect. Because and just think of how easily that can that turns your mindset. That one knowing something new, just her knowing something new. Nothing changed about her. Just nothing physically changed about her look, but just knowing that new flipped what she thought about herself on edge. Just that mental flip, the power of that. Just the power of that flip. It reminds me of that. Y'all remember? I might be showing my age, but that episode of Twilight Zone called "Beauty Is in the Eye of the Beholder" or something, where the whole movie she's under these gauzes, and they're like the doctors are like, "Ooh, we don't know if this surgery is going to work. You're so deformed. You look ugly, blah 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 blah," and they like, "Oh my God, we gonna fix you. This is gonna be the last time that we do the surgeries on you because after this, we don't know what's gonna happen." It's actually one of my favorite TV moments of all times. So the whole time the doctors have their mask on, and they're just, and she has this, she's covered in these gauze, and at the end of the show, they take the gauzes off of her face, and she's this beautiful woman. So when you look at her, you like, oh, it must have worked. Like whatever surgery, it must have worked. But she started to scream, and the doctors is like, oh my God, this is horrible. and you're not understanding because she looks like this beautiful woman, and then they take their mask off and they're deformed. And apparently it's their norm. Do y'all remember this? Apparently it's their norm to look like this deformity. So she's the deformity. It was actually a powerful ass movie. It was from Twilight. It was Twilight Zone, one of the episodes from the old Twilight Zone. I'm sure it's on YouTube for y'all to watch. It's called Beauty, the Eye of the Beholder, or that's So it's really, really good. It's from Twilight Zone. So it reminds me of that, how easily we can flip our minds into thinking, one way, and our physical self doesn't really have to change. And I think that's one thing about I see people when they transition. Like I have a friend, she's passed away now. Um, had a friend. We weren't friend at the end of her life. But Strawbella, she's from my city, and in my opinion, I think that Strawbella became a trans woman because of, and we talked about it years later, but I think Strawbella became a trans woman because she was prettier as a woman than she was as a boy. And so when she would get up in geesh, she was a beautiful girl. And people would go up. People would be like, damn, you look sickening, you look sickening, you look sickening. So she like, ooh, I look sickening. But as a boy, she wasn't no sickening butch queen, but she was a sickening girl. And so she went most of her life until she died, being a trans woman. Surgery, bad surgeries, good surgeries, um, and living her life. But towards the end, she was like, I wish I didn't transition because this really wasn't for me. It is because she had got so much love as a girl that she just got caught up in the situation. you know. And I think a lot of time, now that this is not the norm, but she had this experience. She had this experience where, it flipped on how she thought about herself. And it worked. It worked. I guess it worked against her favor. I don't remember this, but this is giving me Martin when Gina forgot to give Myra the correct pine. And Shanae was like, oh, you look like Grace Jones. Eartha Kitt. I legit know a girl who plans to be buried as a man when she dies. Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So yes, back to the movie. I just think that flip, that the idea of her finding out who she is and being raised a certain way and finding out, oh, all this shit that I have that has been internally fucking me up, like just that affect the self esteem of myself. I'm thinking I'm this weird ass fucking human. I'm thinking I'm this weird ass fucking human because I don't look like anybody else. I can't have sex like the normal girls. I can't do anything. I'm feeling ugly. Niggas is probably treating me ugly and being shady to me because they were reading her while she was at the TSA job. So feeling that idea, feeling that feeling and then having it revealed, the idea of having it revealed that you're something else and you can live free. Because remember, she started living more like a troll and more free and like, oh, I'm getting my life now. I could definitely, Montanique, I definitely can relate to that. That's something I definitely relate to. Mm, 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 mm. And she wanted to have a baby. That was the thing about her too. She wanted to have a baby. They was wearing her out at the TSA job. It was reading her down. So she wanted to have a baby, and that's something that she wanted to do. And it did happen in the end. She ended up getting her little troll baby. Now I wouldn't have took the babies, but would y'all have tried to find your little troll tribe in Finland? I would have tried to once I knew since she got the baby. I would have. I don't know. Would y'all have tried to find the tribe? I would want to know where the other people live at. Reminds me of the quote, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Yeah, I just now remember that Martin episode. Yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes. That one and Kill My Mama Bird. Oh, and pass the peas like we used to do. Pass the peas like we used to do. Pass the peas like we used to do. Hey, pass the peas like we used to do. Hey, that one. I love that episode too. Um, I would have fuck them humans. Yeah, I would have had to see. I would have had to see what was up. I would have had to go to I would have had to go and see. I needed to see my people. I needed to see like you couldn't let me hit it. You couldn't let me hit it and then I can't find some other people that I can hit. we gotta we gotta see what's happening. I need where my folks at. I can't just be here with these motherfuckers. And then I'm like, your thing never got hard. Like you never been aroused. That was strange too. You would think that her stuff would have came out before this. Like you never got aroused at all. I honestly would have left with Laura. They done wore your parents out and treated you like shit when they did not when they not using you. I would have got up and out of there. Yeah, I would have need to see what was up. I would need to see what was up. So this is a fun fact about the film. So it was screened at Cannes, where it won a 2018 award. It was also at the Toronto and won an award at the Toronto International Festival. The director Ali Bazi holds an Iranian passport, which prevented him from traveling into the U.S. due to the Muslim travel ban. Child, so he couldn't even get his award initially because Trump had said, "Honey, the Muslims can't come in here." But because it was under special circumstances, they granted him a very rare exception, and he was able to attend not the Toronto Fest. He was able to attend the Telluride, I guess that's how you pronounce it or whatever. That festival, but he was able to attend one of them, but he wasn't able to attend the other one. So ain't that strange? Trump just was fucking all kinds of shit up. Yes, it was so good. It was so good. It was so good, Ari. I loved it. It was surprising. It gagged me. And, you know, I definitely suggest it. I did feel bad by the neighbors because their baby being taken. Diamond, did you see Cuties? I did not see Cuties. Um, tried to started watching it, but um, yeah, it was a little much. I had to cut it off. It was a little much for me. I didn't like it. Yeah, it was a little much. I liked Kimberly for Harris. I like her analysis. I definitely recommend y'all watching her analysis. But yeah, it was too much for me. I understood why they wanted it to be too much. I understood the point that they were trying to make, but yeah. No, thank you. Mm-mm. No, thank you. I didn't catch that. The neighbor baby was switched with the freezer baby. Yes, they snatched it. No, they snatched the freezer baby was a changeling, and they switched it with the human baby. That's how they steal the human babies. The backlash from cuties got to me before I could even watch the movie. Yeah, I tried to watch a little bit of it to give it a chance, but I still didn't like it. I get why Kim was talking about it, but it just was. I get it. It just wasn't for me. I get the point that they were trying to make. What did you love about it, Money? Kim and Tanya TKO has the best analysis. Yeah, I loved Kim. Kim, I liked Kim. I don't really watch Tanya TKO because she's too transphobic for me. I don't like her analysis about trans people, so I can't even fuck with her at all. Yes, Lord was giving human babies to the sex train. Yes, he was. Wait, so the humans out here raising unfertilized troll eggs? Well, no, 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 no. The unfertilized trolls, if they don't get fertilized, they just die. And that's why the baby was dying. And so she thought it was her baby, but it wasn't her baby. Yes, it was misbehaved. Yeah, we're talking about it. Um, yeah, so if you don't get it fertilized, it's just gonna die. And so that's why she was like, "Oh my god, my baby, something's wrong with my baby," because it's just gonna die because it's not an actual baby. It's her, the little troll baby. What did you think about it, Misbehave? Um, and I wanted, would y'all be mad at the dad? How do you just respond at the dad? Like, how would y'all have responded to y'all daddy? Yeah, there are some. I hate finding out new shit about my mama. I usually the new shit that I find out about my mama, not it really not pertaining to me, but it's quite interesting analyzing my mother's life as I get not just woke, but as I get older. Because I analyze my mother's life based on where I am in my current age. So like when I was 17, when I thought my mother was having me at 17. And I'm like, oh God, could I have dealt with a baby? Like I always think about where my mother was, what was she experiencing in life based on my memory when like now I'm about to be 40. My mother would have been let's see. What year was my mama turning 40? 2003. So my mama was turning 40 in 2004, like almost four. So 2004, I was in Indianapolis, and she was in prison. So my mother was turning 40 in prison. And so I think when I think about my mom, I think about just her how she related in that sense. Oh, and today's my mama's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I know you watch. Um, yeah, so I think about, and I always find out new things about her. Like if I talk to somebody that's connected to our family, they'll tell me some new story that they remember. They'll tell me something about my mother that gives her more depth and gives her life a little bit more detail to the decisions that she was making, to the situations. You know, because sometimes as a child, you're kind of I know me, I don't know about y'all, but I'm thinking about my mother's motherhood through my lens, you know, and not really thinking about her just as a plain woman, just a woman just like living life and trying to find love and navigating blackness and navigating womanhood and um in my younger years, I didn't always give my mother that grace to think about all those things because I wasn't thinking about all those things with depth. And so, watching Borders and her like holding her father accountable and like you know bringing that up to her dad and you know it made me think about situations with my mom and choices they made, good and bad, and it made me think about that. Let's see. Some of the family moments were hard to. Oh, I don't know. I think the backlash was about the girls twerking. Yes, the movie was not about that, and that's the dance of the time. I got the theme of the film of about cuties. I just felt like they didn't have to do the extra zoomed in. I think how it was shot didn't need to be that. I don't think it needed to be that. I think it would have conveyed the same point that they were trying to make without the how it was shot. I don't know. It sounds felt weird. He did take care of her, but he also worked at the place that wore her parents out. So I think I would be pissed at first, but I would have moved on because he did do a pretty good by her considering. hmm I think I would eventually forgave him. The parent situation kind of reminded me of the Kamaya Mobley story where she was stolen from her parents at birth. Stolen from her birth mother and raised by her abductor. She was stolen by the abductor and raised as her own. Yeah, that was a wild ass fucking story. Gosh, that was a wild ass story. And you can't really, as a child, you really can't think about it. This isn't related, but it's I'm trying to make this connection. I'm not gonna say this. This isn't related, but it reminds me of men and how they think about women molesting them. Let me let me get it. Let me try to explain that. So y'all remember when Chris Brown? I'm gonna try to make it all connect so y'all can get it. Y'all remember when Chris Brown and other male celebrities? There was this article going around how they were talking about women had sex with them when they were 11 or like a young age gave them head or did something that we would if it was a man doing it we would consider and we still do like people who got some sense consider it like pedophilia but they don't in their mind little them they don't think of it like women think of it or think of it like they would if it was a man. When it's a woman doing the molesting and you're a boy child, and how it's talked about and how it is perceived, it's almost like it's not a trauma. Almost like they're how they mentally think about it. It's almost like this is what it's supposed to do. So this is what I'm a boy and this is how it's supposed to do. And it's like a sense of pride. Like when you're younger, I had sex when I was 11 years old. I got some pussy when I was 11. So it's just something that boys can take as a pride thing instead of taking as a, oh, you violated me. You took, oh, my body is this precious thing and you violated it. And now I'm shamed about it. And I'm not a virgin anymore. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Like this trauma thing. The boys take it like it's like a, not saying that all boys don't take it like this, but because having sex is a sense of pride, they don't like, oh my God, I can, yeah, I'm not a virgin. I done had some pussy. They can brag about it. So how they think about it is not, when they go through their life, it's not this sense of trauma behind it. And so it reminds me of that Kamaya Mosley, like when we were talking about like when I was watching Iyanla Van Zandt, it felt like Iyanla was giving her ways to think about it that she wasn't. If I'm raised from a baby with this woman who I consider my mother and she raised me nice, even though this is a fucked up situation that's gonna blow my mind. Oh my God, you stole me from my birth mother? That's wild, but that don't mean I'm gonna turn around and hate this woman because she raised me and raised me good. So I'm gonna, and I've always thought about my perspective is that this is my mother. And so it may not be the perspective of the situation may not be as traumatic to the person in it as it would be for somebody out of it. You see what I'm saying? Because we can look at it like, oh my God, you got stole from your mother, and this crazy woman abducted you and raised you. We can from our perspective, we can see the absurdity of it. But from a person in it, they can be like, but yeah, now that I know the facts about the situation, but it's still my mom. Did you see the one with Lisa Ray? No, I didn't. Um, this, it is considered a violation. It's not considered a violation. Yes, that's why I be ready to pop grown ass women referring to my 3 year old nephew as a little boyfriend. I hate that sick shit. Yeah, that's weird. It's always weird, but people do it all the time. I'd be like, oh, he gonna be a heartbreaker when he grow up. You're weird. Um, Losing virginity is a rite of passage for boys and a scorn for girls. Absolutely. Yes. Did you see the one Blues right now? I didn't. That makes sense. When you're in a crazy situation, it might not seem that crazy until you look back. Absolutely. And then especially now it's different if you raise in this crazy situation. Like it seems like she just raised her as her daughter. You see what I'm saying? Like it isn't like, oh, I was raised in cages and or something weird, like some really weird situation. I had a client who found out that her mom was actually her grandma and her sister was actually her mom. I know a situation, I know somebody like that, like in my real life. Their family didn't really change how they related to each other after everyone found out. Yeah, I've heard about that situation and I've actually seen it in my real life. Because the child, because the older sister that was really the mama, she had the baby so young that the grandma just raised her as the child, like the little like a little sister. How did that yeah, it was common. Um I think I talked about this before. I had a now they didn't raise her as a as siblings, but she's not my niece, but I call her my niece, but she's she's actually not connected to me. She's connected to me by marriage and that kind of thing. But her father molested her when she was a kid, and she had a baby when she was 12. She got pregnant when she was 11 and had the baby when she was 12. And so it would have been a situation like that. And now they're almost, you would think that they were sisters because they're close because now they're growing up. Now they're grown now. But she's, the baby is now like 22. And her mama is like 34, 33, 34. And so now people don't, if you don't know them, you would think that they were sisters because you wouldn't know that they were mother and daughter. And they look so much alike because they both got the same daddy. They sharing so many chromosomes. I've seen this situation where all of a sudden the mother wants to be respected as the mother, but feels disrespected because that's not the role the child knew her as a mess. Yeah, I'm trying to think of. That's how I feel about Khloe Kardashian. I don't think Khloe Kardashian is a Kardashian. I really don't. I don't think she's what's the old boy name that everybody says she's I don't think she's OJ's at all. I think she's that hairdresser's. I think she's that guy because it looks like him. She looks like him, but I don't think she's a Kardashian. And I think it's gonna come out years later. Hmm. Yeah. I think of have I seen any weird situations in my life where some shit got exposed? Yeah, it ain't nothing. I remember this ain't got nothing to do with parents and fathers. I'm just talking about exposed like trauma. My family is full of motherfucking um just weird ass fucking people. Like I remember I went to my who had passed away? Somebody my Uncle Kurt. So my Uncle Kurt has Down syndrome and he has been in our life. He had been in our life for years. Like I there was not a time. He's the same age as my mom, and they have the same birthday, which is today. and and so he's always been in my life. But he wasn't supposed to live past a certain age, but he lived till he was like 37. So when he passed away, like back in '02, was it '02? It was like '02. He had passed away, and we had went, and these are usually times when your family get together, like for funerals and weddings. Not a lot of weddings, but a lot of funerals. For funerals are when the time when your family get together. And my yes, that's the situation that I was talking about earlier. Yes. Um, but my we would go. This is when we were hanging out with family because the funeral just happened. So you go to people's house. People don't cook. People are in town for the funeral. Blah 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 blah. So my aunt Joe, my aunt Joe, she's a Jehovah Witness and shit. So she don't allow you to smoke and do all that drinking and all that stuff in her house. So all the younger people who smoked and get drunk, da da da, they were going over my aunt Catherine's house. So my cousin Duke, who is bisexual, who just came out as who just came out as bisexual when he started dating a guy, and this was a time that he kind of just came out. So he wanted me to go over my aunt Catherine's house with him. Now, this side of my family, yeah, Aunt Jo is cool. She's strange. I got a lot of stories about her. Um, but my aunt Catherine, she is my aunt Joe's sister, but she's like we didn't really fuck with this side of the family. We didn't really fuck with her. She either is my aunt Joe's sister's daughter or my aunt Joe's sister. I can't remember. I don't know. Anyway, I know of her and met her and talked to her before and all that kind of stuff. Seen her, da da da. But we don't really be around her. Like I never was just kind of like we ain't never been to her house. We ain't never, we ain't. I didn't know why, but we didn't really fuck with her like that. So I didn't know. But as I got older, come to find out, the reason why we weren't allowed to fuck with Catherine is because Catherine, my aunt, her name is Catherine, but because my family country, they call her Catherine. Catherine, um, because my mother didn't fuck with Catherine because Catherine was a woman who was molesting my mother. So that's why we didn't go and hang out with Catherine. She's one of the sisters of my aunt Joe that we didn't fuck with. We didn't know, and I didn't know the history until we got older. And so at this point, I was older and I knew the tea, and I go to her house and I don't know, like I'm just kind of chilling. I'm like on my phone, like sitting on the couch, and I start hearing weird conversations about trans shit in the kitchen. And because I wasn't paying attention, now mind you, I know people in this house, but I don't really know them. Like I know they my family. I done heard their name before, but I don't know them. Like these is people that from my childhood that I like, they're your family, but you don't know them. You didn't hang around with them. You didn't be around them. So I'm like, So I'm paying attention to the conversation, and apparently they don't want me here at the house. Apparently because I'm trans. And so my cousin Duke, who brought me over here, he comes to the house. He comes to the living room and was like, "Hey, cuz we about to go, um, because these motherfuckers tripping about you being here." And I'm like, "What? I don't even know these people. What do you mean?" And so I guess he was in there defending me or whatever. And so I come into the kitchen. Now, mind you, this is the side of the family that is like, um, you would think that this is the side of the family that I would most connect with, but this is why I don't connect with them. But this is like the, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to say ratchet because my whole fucking family is ratchet, but um, this is the side that's even more ratchet. Like they drunks, crackheads. Um, they live in like even worse. Like even worse than ratchet, because even like my Aunt Joe's area, like it's not the hood, but it's like it ain't no kind of like this. There's a part of my family that they don't live in like a bougie neighborhood, but they don't live in like they own their house. They live in the hood, but they own their house, and it may not be you don't see here shooting. You know what I'm saying? But then there's some of my family that lives in the ratchet, da 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 da. And these are the even more ratchet. That's what I guess that's what you can say. Even more ratchet. So this side of the family is even more ratchet. So the fact that y'all are being tired about me being in the house and y'all are this side of the family that is known for being crackheads, drunks, ratchet, broke ass motherfuckers, baby, it had wore me out. So I go into the kitchen and I say, I was like, what's going on? And my cousin, my cousin says, nah, don't worry about it. They tripping about you being here. And I told them that I brought you because I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool, blah, 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 blah. But apparently they have a problem with you. And I was like, wait, so who got a problem with it? Who house is this? And so they were talking about my Aunt Catherine. And I was like, what? I was like, but ain't you a dyke? Because apparently, because from my perspective, me listening with my child ears, she's always been the one that was rumored to be a dyke. And it was talked about so openly that I thought it wasn't a rumor. I thought that was what it was. I thought that she was a dyke. So, because she would come to events with like hats on and suits, and she looked like a fucking like a stud sometimes, like a regular ass stud. Like you know how studs, old school studs, are be in jeans, wide leg jeans, and blazers, with a motherfucking or with some slacks on, or maybe some motherfucking leather boots with a heel on it, but they got some wide leg jeans, but always a blazer and a hat or a fade or something. It's them old school kind of studs that always got an Evan Pacone blazer or something on. So, you know, Marshall Warfield looking ass studs. Like, you know, y'all know who I'm talking about. And so she was very that. When she would come to the event, she would be very giving, you know, lesbian, like not thug out lesbian, but that kind of stud that ain't that respectable thug stud. It's really it's hard to explain. Not a thug where they got fitted hats and baggy jeans and tennis shoes. Not that kind. Not the young Maz, but very damn near that old school. And so anyway, when I come in, I'm like, but ain't you a dyke? And that made everybody gag. Like everybody in the room gagged because apparently it wasn't the rumor. I mean, it was a rumor that was a disrespectful rumor. Oh no! So her daughter, her name is Bernice. She just passed away like a year ago. Um, her name is Bernice. Oh, you not gonna disrespect my mama? Very Lori Lightfoot. Oh yes, very Lori Lightfoot. That kind of exactly Lori Lightfoot. Um, oh, you not gonna disrespect my mama. You not gonna disrespect my mama. And I'm like, oh, I'm not trying to diss that. I thought she was. Every time she come to the events, honey, she looking like a stud to me. Child, that's what it is. And so she would give very, very much that, giving, and so they're going now, it's getting hostile. Like it's oh, you got to get the fuck up out of here and da da da. I was like, but wait, before I go. I called my mother, put her on speakerphone. I said, Mama, these people are putting me out of their house. Like, because I'm trans, these motherfuckers put me out of their house. But and my mother was like, who? And I'm like, Catherine and her kids and blah, 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 blah. I was like, but ain't I to understand that Catherine is the one who molested you when you was little? And my mother said, she sure did. She sure did. She sure did was playing with my motherfucking pussy when I was fucking 5 years old. Bitch, how dare you? And I had her on speakerphone. Oh, you want to be cute? And you want to, but before I go, I'm going to drop this bomb, bitch. Before I go, I'm going to drop this bomb. Now I can leave, ho. Come on, Duke. Let's get up out of here. That's my cousin named Duke. Baby, the whole room was gagged. Because my mother comes from a part of the my branch of the family is real isolated. And let me explain why. So my grandmother, my great grandmother, I think I talked about this before, but she went to prison for killing. She didn't kill the child herself, but she went to prison for being involved. My great grandmother being involved with the murder of the death of a 6-year-old boy. It was big news in Indianapolis in 1976. They called her the Salt Lady, but she wasn't the Salt Lady. She was a Hulu practitioner, a root worker, a healer, blah, 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 blah. And the woman who came to her for help for her kids didn't do what she was supposed to do. And the baby ended up dying. And so my grandmother went to prison. My great grandmother went to prison for it. So it became almost like my grandmother and her kids were kind of embarrassed by that happening. I mean, not embarrassed, but people in the family were embarrassed by that happening and kind of shunned my grandmother and her sister, which my grandmother, and this is her sister, my Aunt Roz. So my Aunt Roz and my grandmother, being kids when their mother went to prison, they didn't have anywhere to go because their mother went to prison. But the family was ashamed of my grandmother killing that boy, okay? Or being a part of killing that boy. She didn't actually kill the boy. They already kind of isolated her because she was doing that witchcraft shit, and they was Christianing, and so her going to prison and being all over the newspaper and all over the shit and all that kind of shit. They didn't want to take the daughters in, which is my grandmother and her. So that led her into prostitution because she didn't have nowhere to go. So she stayed with this white man who connected her to, who fell in love with, the white man fell in love with her. And he bought her different massage parlors around the city. And then they expanded the business. She ended up becoming rich, but she also ended up becoming addicted to heroin. And that was a downfall of her life. My grandmother, now, so she is the beautiful swan, okay? So she's exceptionally beautiful. Everybody lives for her. My grandmother, which is her sister, doesn't look like her. They're the same color, but my grandmother has like messed up teeth. Like her teeth is messed up. So she, compared to her, If you put my grandmother separately, she's a beautiful woman. She got some funny teeth, but she's a beautiful woman. But if you put her next to her, it's like, oh, she's the ugly one, which did something to my grandmother, which triggered my grandmother's, which is the bane of my grandmother's insecurity for the rest of her life. Um, I'm going into a lot. There's a lot to this story. Um, Side note, when they were little, my grandmother, so my great grandmother would have her do all the prissy work, and my grandmother do all the boy work because she only had two kids, two girls. She would be the one that's doing all the cooking, anything that's deemed um, anything that you would think is girly, washing clothes, cooking, shit. Anything that you would have your stereotypically have your son do, my grandmother would do. Start the fire, take the trash out, chop the wood. And they lived on farms and shit, so it was not like we live now. And so my grandmother told my great grandmother that if she had to get up and start the fire, she was gonna burn her hair. My grandmother had to get up and start the fire. My grandmother had to get up and start the fire one more time, and she took the fire and burned and put the fire on her head. And burned. It didn't burn her scalp, but burned her hair. She had too much hair for it to get to her head before my grandmother, my great grandmother, came in and put the fire out of her hair. But my grandmother said that she was going to do it, and she did it. This story always gagged me when I was younger. In retaliation, this is going to be crazy. So let y'all know it's crazy. Not retaliation, but as punishment. Now, my great grandmother is off. I want y'all to get that. My great grandmother is a schizophrenic. She's schizophrenic, like diagnosed schizophrenic, very very violent, very, I guess it would be bipolar too, but like she can be manic, violent, crazy, and she can be very sweet, calm, mannered, cool. So it's either or. And they all express this. Like my grandmother, my mother, because my mother was raised by her too. She's crazy. She's a crazy witch woman. That's what everybody called her. She's a crazy witch woman. So to punish my grandmother and my aunt Roz, this is when they were like 7. To punish them, let me tell you what the fuck she did. She says, oh, y'all sisters and y'all want to fight? Okay, cool. She made them go in the bathroom and boo-boo. When each one of them boo-boo, she put it in a bowl and made each one of them eat it. This is the type of abuse that she was. And apparently the point was, if you gonna take shit from anybody, if you're gonna take shit for anybody, it's gonna be your sisters. Ain't gonna be for nobody else. Don't make sense to me. But it was my grandmother was over it. My grandmother never did anything else to her sister. She never did anything. They kind of hated each other, really. They kind of it's multiple layers to why they hated each other. The dysfunctionized crazy mama is the root. Trust and believe that. But also her being so pretty and my grandmother being, quote, the ugly duckling of the sisters, it put a tension between them. So much so that when she became the high-priced prostitute hoe, My grandmother became the studious, I want to go to school and get an education. She went to school to be a nurse. She became a nurse. And she wanted to be the homely, respectable, whatever that means. She wanted to be the respectable, homely woman. Her house was always cream and clean, and it was all. They all had this weird shit. Like she had books. Oh my god, she had bookshelves and upon shelves of books by Julia Childs, cookbooks by Julia Childs, because she thought that Julia Childs was the epitome of classy white woman, classy living. So she started trying to cook like that. She started trying to cook like Julia Childs. So she had all kinds of cookbooks. That's really only books that she had in the house. Julia Childs cookbook, French living, or French something, whatever they used to be called. Now, me being a nerdy ass kid, I thought it was interesting because I didn't see these kind of books in other people's houses. So when I was younger, I thought it was interesting. But as I got older, I thought it was stupid because when my mother would bring me over her house, she would be cooking shit that was nasty and gross. And we didn't like it. And she was like, and she would read us because we were ratchet ass kids that didn't know nothing about, that didn't have no class. Your mama is raising ratchet ass kids and don't got no class. That don't know nothing about the world. And that's why you don't like my cooking. No, bitch, we don't like this shit because this shit nasty. It's some nasty white people shit. So anyway, so yes, as they got older, the two sisters were treated very differently because the history of their grandmother being abusive. Because she was the pretty one, my great grandmother would prostitute her out. That's how she got into prostitution and the act of fucking niggas for money. That's how she met the white man. Yeah. So, fast forward years later, because they were traumatized, two traumatized girls, my grandfather, my mother's dad, he comes over the house and he is dating the pretty one. Now they're like 17. They're like teenagers. All this stuff is happening that I'm telling y'all from young kids to 17. My grandfather is dating her. Fine ass, tall, dark skinned chocolate man is dating her. But she don't like him. And so she like, girl, boy, get out of here. I don't live. So he keep coming to the house. He ends up fucking around with my grandmother, her sister, and getting her pregnant from that first incident. From the first time they had sex, she ended up getting pregnant. The one that's supposed to be goody two shoes. She gets pregnant at 17. Before the hoe. So you know that gags everybody. So she's the pretty hoe, but she don't get pregnant. The goody two shoes, quote unquote, ugly duckling gets pregnant by her boyfriend. So she's gagged. So the story that she tells, my grandmother, is that he raped her. Now, you know, we believe victims. I don't believe my grandmother. I believe my grandmother gave my grandfather some pussy. Not if previously I did believe her because I thought, you know, believe the victim. But later on in life, My grandmother went to the prison while he was in prison and got him out and moved him in with her. Now, that don't mean he didn't rape. I ain't saying that that's not true, but based on the conversation that I heard between the two of them about the situation, it wasn't a forceful rape, like I'm holding you down and forcing you into this sex act. It was one of those, I said no, but he just kept on asking me. And I just said, fuck it, because he kept on asking me. So it was one of those kind. And I know that's kind of weird, but it wasn't I'm holding you down and taking your pussy kind of rape. It is, I said no, but he just wouldn't take no for an answer. But not physically. Does that make sense? So this whole time, she was selling it to us like it was a forceful rape. But then when I hear the conversation between him and her, when I'm younger, it was a little bit more nuanced than she was putting on before. Oh, Lord. So that's how my mother came. Because my mother was an unexpected baby and abortions was definitely not going to happen in my family because, no, that's wrong to them. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother, my great-grandmother, the crazy one, took my mother from my grandmother. And all the grandchildren subsequently after. So even her. So my grandmother only had one child, my mother. She had 5. She just didn't have the first one. The goody two-shoes the one that had it. But she ended up getting pregnant afterwards. She got pregnant by a black dude. Then she got pregnant by one of her white clients. Then, yeah, but my great-grandmother took all of the kids. But anyway, because all of this shit was going on, so I done went down the rabbit hole because y'all said y'all didn't mind story. But because all of this shit was going on with my great-grandmother and the hoeing and the selling the kids and they're living this weird-ass, witchy, disgusting life to other people, my family didn't fuck with them. So they were kind of isolated. Only person that actually fucked with our branch was my Aunt Jo. That's why you hear more stories about me talking about my Aunt Jo. My great-grandmother was crazy. So I didn't really, my mother didn't allow me to be around her that much. Because she was like that kind of weird, crazy shit. My grandmother, that was my great-grandmother. My grandmother was transphobic and also crazy and bougie and loved Julia Childs. That's that one. So I didn't really fuck with her. And so my Aunt Jo, who took her in, which my Aunt Jo is actually my great-grandmother's younger sister. So she took her niece in, but they were the same age. So when she went to prison, she took her in. So both of these girls, her and my Aunt Jo, they were girls of the world. She was massage parlor queen. My Aunt Jo, she was drunk going to the club, hole in the wall. You know, she was that. So they locked up. My grandmother was the goody two-shoes, so she didn't lock up with them. And so my mother, who got pregnant at 17, remember, she's the goody two-shoes daughter. My grandmother didn't fuck with it because she was like, oh, you made the same mistake that I did. Getting pregnant at 17, shameful. Da 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 da. I'm not gonna help you do shit. Blah 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 blah. So that crew took in my mother. So that's why I'm closer. That's why you see a picture of her and not my grandmother. I'm closer. She is who I wish my grandmother was, which she resented. Because remember, she also was the ugly duckling. So for me to be the grandchild to grow up and love her just like everybody else loved her, you know she gonna hate me. you tranny ass traitor. Not only are you this fucking she, you also fell in love with the bane of my existence. My prettier older sister. How dare you? You're my grandchild. You're supposed to love me. But she was mean as a rattlesnake and I didn't like her at all. So she hated it. That's her older sister. She never wasn't shit about me. She like once I transitioned. Then her younger, so it gets worse because then years later, her younger sister. So this is her older sister by her mother. Okay. So her mother only had 2 children, her and my grandmother. Her father, their father, they have the same father and mother. Give you that backstory real quick. My great grandmother, the crazy one, left Mississippi, left the farm. She married him, but left him because he was a drunk and abusive. And she took her daughters and ran Indianapolis from Mississippi. So my grandmother always had an affinity for her father because she felt like, because she was abusive, that a better situation probably would have been cute if she would have stayed with her father. So she always like lived for her father. And she always lived for her father. So her father went on to marry their mother's cousin, literal first cousin. So he had 2 girls by this one, and then had 2 girls by a cousin. So he had 2 girls by 2 cousins. Hey, Deneen. And so the younger one, if y'all ever heard me talk about my Aunt Georgia, the youngest daughter is my Aunt Georgia. And so my Aunt Georgia is also a pretty woman. She more, I can't explain it. She basically really has the same flaws as my grandmother. They're pretty women, but they just got jacked up ass teeth. That's what I think. And so, but she's her younger sibling, and her father treated my Aunt Georgia like the younger sibling, like spoiled her, da 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 da. And then being that they stayed in Mississippi, and my great grandmother took them away from Mississippi, they had a bit closer relationship. So my grandmother was jealous. My grandmother was also jealous of her younger sister too because of her closeness with her father. Fast forward to like 98, 99, and we moved to Mississippi. This is right before I went to Jackson State. We come down to Mississippi and we meet my Aunt Georgia, and my Aunt Georgia cool as fuck. So we get cool with my Aunt Georgia, and my grandmother hates it. So not only do we fall in love with my Aunt Roz, we come down to Mississippi, her thinking that we're getting away from my Aunt Roz. Not that I think she thought like this, but we come down to Mississippi, and honey, we fall in love with my Aunt Georgia, and we get closer to my Aunt Georgia than my grandmother. And my grandmother hates it, which is so annoying to me because she never really liked me anyway. So the fact that she would be jealous of me getting close to my Aunt Georgia is really wild and crazy. So yeah, so because my grandmother because she had this incident of my great grandmother had this incident of killing a little boy. It's almost like our branch of the family was like the black sheep of the family. And so when I called my aunt Catherine out at the house when she was trying to kick me out of the house, everybody knew that my mother was telling the truth because my mother come from the side of the family that don't give a fuck because y'all ain't treated us like anything. We say what's on our mind. We the side of the family that is open and honest and talk about problems with like, okay, oh, that's the tea. Let's tell the tea. And so when my mother said it, everybody knew it was undeniable. And everybody in the house was like, "You molested Moochie, Catherine? What the fuck?" My mother was like, "She sure did. Why she trying to treat my child like some kind of way? Bitch, you a fucking pedophile." Da 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 da. And she was, baby, they was over it. But they didn't have to kick me out, baby. I was already leaving. I just wanted to blow their ass up. She recently, her daughter Bernice ended up passing a year ago, but she had died, Catherine, maybe like 5 years ago, maybe. But this happened when I was 04, so maybe like 23, 20, 22, 23, somewhere around there. But I sure popped their ass. Oh, y'all want to act funny? I know all the secrets, baby. I know every secret of this family. Just because I'm the trans girl and people trust me, I spill all the tea. Oh, Brandon, the daughter, I guess she called herself being tough because we didn't get in a fight, but we almost did. Once I spilled the tea, the daughter was getting all tough. And, I basically said, once my mother said it, I was like, all right, Duke, now we can go. Now I done dropped the bomb. Now we can get up out. So I walk out the house, and her daughter, Bernice, was giving come out the house. You ain't gonna disrespect my mama. And I stopped and went back. I was at the car, but I came back into the yard of the house. And I was like, sweetie, now y'all already popping me about my tea. You know I'll fuck you up though, right? Like without question, I will bash you. Like so fiercely you won't understand it. And she was like, I'll get my something, my brothers or da 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 da. I was like, okay, that's fine too. They get smashed too. I was like, y'all know about me. This ain't y'all ain't new to the game, Bernice. Y'all know that this ain't no joke over here. Like we crazy. We known for being crazy. It's not a game. And my uncle Kurt, not my uncle Kurt, my uncle Billy was like, yeah, Bernice, it ain't even that serious, and it ain't don't don't do it. And she took her ass back in the house. And ever since that day, they never spoke to me. Anytime they saw me, they never spoke to me. I spoke to them though. Hey. Hey. But they would turn their little nose up. That's so fine. Watch your tone. As long as you watch your tones. As long as you watch your tones, that's okay. But yeah, both of them are dead. One died of one of them died of something. I can't remember what Catherine died of, but Bernice died of something that they don't even know what the fuck it was. It was some weird ass cancer like shit that was happening to her. And it just happened to her like within 6 months and wore her out. Wore her out. So Well, that was my story. Y'all wanted the story time. And it is 2 hours and 4 minutes, and we talked about Borders, and I hope y'all enjoyed the movie. Do y'all want to talk about what else we might want to watch for next time? I haven't thought about anything. Hmm. I have any ideas for next Friday? I want to thank everybody for watching the video with me, watching the video with me and Madison. I've got a lot of feedback. Are you leaving this up? Yes, it's at 2 hours, so I'm about to cut it off. Um, but yeah, I've gotten a lot of good feedback um, about the Madison interview. Was doing really well. Next Friday is the event. Oh yeah, you're right. Thanks for reminding me. Well, next conversation that we have. We can come up with something. If I find something that I want to talk about, I'll probably put it as a post on Facebook and give y'all some options. This interview was everything. I loved it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was good. Somebody, a cisgender woman, sent me a message and it was so powerful. She was crying and stuff, and I appreciated it. She just basically was saying that, she related to it about not having the right words to say all the time and just how affirming it was, how we talked about it. And she just was, it was just a powerful affirmation of the work. What is that you're spinning? It is a fingernail clipper. I'm just taking the rat tail comb and putting it in here and doing like this. And just spinning it. So yes, I will see y'all. I don't know. I might do something Thursday instead of Friday next week, just talk about something. But I'm not 100% for sure. But yes, make sure you thumbs up. Make sure you check out Marsha's Plate, the podcast. I did leave some extra things in the conversation. I don't know. Wait, did I? Yeah, I put some extra stuff in the conversation on Marsha's Plate. Left some extra things and didn't. Um, yeah, just so y'all can have that. You're very good at putting words to feelings. One of your superpowers. Thank you. Um, make sure it is, if you are in Georgia or you're connected to people in Georgia, make sure you get them to register to vote by the 7th. 7th is the last day that we can register to vote in Georgia if you are a Georgia resident, so that you can vote in this runoff on January the 5th. Early voting starts December the 14th, but registration to be able to vote, even if you have turned 18 now, you can vote if you have turned 18 between like in November from the election to now. You can actually vote in this election. So make sure that you register by December the 7th. If you are in Georgia and a resident of Georgia, make sure you let your people know on your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram that people in Georgia, they need to register to vote by the 7th of December, so they can start early voting on December the 14th. And the voting election day is January the 5th, that Tuesday. But you have to prepare, you have to get everybody riled up, and you have to register to be able to vote by the 7th of December. Got it? All right. So I will talk to y'all later. And this has been a great week. I'm just so excited. This really has been a great week. after next Thursday, because I got another good episode coming out next Thursday with Arya Saeed and Mariah Moore. Um, some pioneers in their own right, young girls coming up. One is 28 and one is 30, really doing some powerful work out here. Arya Saeed has been in Forbes, 30 under 30. Mariah Moore is doing some great work. So that is coming out next week. And actually, with going up, these two going up on the show, I have literally interviewed all my dream guests, like who I wanted to interview for y'all for Marsha's Play. I have interviewed all my dream guests, so that is an accomplishment. Yay! Who I wanted to interview, like me. Now, there's other guests that I want, but who are like for me. After next week, everybody will be the ones. Now I'll have to make for 2021. I have to make some. God, it's already 2021. We already got 1 year in the bag. This year has been crazy. Anyway, I have to make a new list of people that I want to interview, and I need y'all to help me out. Who would y'all like me to interview? Don't say Janet Mock and Laverne. I know people want me to interview them, but they also are some really busy ladies, so it's going to be hard to get them and get their schedule and that kind of thing. But if there's anybody else, make sure you suggest them, and I'll try to make it happen. I'm gonna be in 2020. I'm gonna be making a new list of people that I want on the show. I've already reached out to Amaya Scott. Her team didn't reach back out to me, so yeah, they didn't even respond. So I'm not gonna break my neck. Who else? I reached out to Angelica Ross. It's definitely a go. We got to figure out a time. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, anyway, I will see y'all later. Have a great day. Make sure you have thumbs up and have a great one. Bye.